Hello, friends. After so much of theories, now it's time to do some hands on. So, now we have to convert our data layer into a data model, right? So, this is not the practice that we do in our day to day basis. Usually, we try to store data into a different model and then we put it together here and we try to stitch it, right? We try to build the relationship between the table, but for the demonstration purpose, as I already said, that this particular project doesn't need to be to build on data model because the row is are only 100,000 rows are there, 1 lakh rows are there, so it's a quite a small data for Power BI as per the Power BI capability, so it doesn't need it. But to understand the functions or to get the better hands-on on Power BI, we will try to first split the tables into a different kind of a table so that we can say that it is a now a star schema kind of a model, and then we will take all these part to the Power BI report pane, and then we will make the relationship there, right? For that purpose, I have taken the output file of my previous video. So that's why I have taken the 3.14 outputs. So this is the output file of my previous video, previous hands-on video. So let's jump to the Power Query first by clicking on this transform data in home tab. This is something where we have left. We were having the winter games, summer games, and one appended table by the name of athlete games, which was having both summer and winter games data. We have also added this small table for some, I think, transpose feature, but for the further subsequent models, we would require this table. So I'll drop this query. I'll simply right click on this table and I'll click on delete. I don't need this table anymore, and I'll work on this consolidated athlete game query, which was having both winter and summer games. It says that preview refresh was cancelled. So let's refresh the preview. Right. So in the last steps, we have applied some group by function. So that is also not required because we want to take entire data. So let me cancel these steps of group by rows, and I'll remove this also. Fine. So this was my complete table, which was having event ID, name, gender, age, team, name of the country, year, season, city, sport, event, medal, something like this. Now, as we have discussed that we will split them together, split them into parts. So first part that I want to build was the player dimension table. For the player dimension table, we have already discussed that we will keep few columns in our table. That will be the name, gender, age, and team. Right. So these were the one, two, three, four columns that we want to take. For that, it's always better to keep a copy of this first. For the copy, we have discussed that there was two ways of replicating this table. One was go to the athlete games, click right click on the name, and there are two options: duplicate and reference. If I'll make a reference, if I'll make a reference, so it will create another query with the name of athlete games 2, which is having all the columns to same. It's the same. It's the same table. Let me rename this query athletes games 2 as let's suppose reference. See, this reference table was having only one step, that is source, and that source is also the older one. If I change something here, let's suppose I'll remove this event ID column. remove columns. If I remove this column, it will also remove it will also be removed from the reference table because these two tables are interlinked as we see in the theory. Yes, it is removed, right? If I will cancel this remove column here, so event ID will come again, and in my reference query also it should come. See, so that was the difference between the reference and the duplicate. And let's suppose we make another replica of the table by the feature duplicate. I'll rename this query as duplicate. Now, whatever applied steps were there in the original table in the athlete games, see these are the steps, and in the duplicate also we have all the steps. So that means it is capturing data again from the source and doing all these and applying all these steps. Let's see if now if I will change the event ID, if I will drop this event ID here, will it affect in the duplicate? No, it is not affecting. That means there is no linkages now between the source and the target. So this was the difference which we have learned in our theory, which we are now applying into here also. Fine, fine. But I don't want to these thing. It was just to demonstrate the difference between the reference and duplicates. I'll removing it. Delete this query also. Fine. So now I want to make player dimension table out of this table. So first I will take the duplicate of this copy. I'll duplicate the table. I'll name this query as player dim table. Just player dim will suffice. Now in this player dim, we have decided to keep only 4 5 columns like name, gender, age, and team. So that's why I'm selecting name, gender, age, and team, and I'll go into the remove columns, the lower part of the remove columns, and I will select the remove other columns. Remove other columns will remove all the other columns except which I have selected. Right. So if I'll put the remove column, so these columns will remove and everything else will be here. So I have to do the opposite of that. For that, I will select the remove other columns. So now I have the name, gender, age, and team. Perfect. These are the columns that should be there in my player dimension table. But I could see there might be some duplicacy because it is the complete. See this Arthur Gergen from Armenia, male 21, is having duplicate. So first, let's remove the duplicate rows from here because you remember that out of 6 rows, we have taken only 2 rows, one for Alex, one for the Zara in the example. Here also, we have to remove all the duplicate. For that, we need to remove duplicate rows from this. Duplicate on the basis of all the 4 columns. How to select all the 4 columns together? Either click it with the control or select the first column and click right arrow key with the shift. Once all the columns are selected, I will remove the duplicate rows from here. Here in the remove rows, in the home ribbon, remove rows, go to remove duplicates. Once I'll click this, it will remove all the duplicate rows from my table, considering all the 4 columns. See, now this player is coming again and again, but it means that this player has participated in athletics games multiple times. Once when he was of the age 23, again he has participated at the age of 27. Again, I participated at the age of 35. So that's why this is not a duplicacy. It is the same player is coming and again and again. Right. So let's see how many columns are there now. How many rows are left? Earlier we have somewhere around 1,18,000 rows in the table. Now when I have duplicated the players, So let's see how many count of rows are there. So now we have 76,000 different rows. Right. So now I will also, this is the one task. First, we have segregated the columns which I require. Then I have removed the duplicate rows from it. Now I want to put one player ID into it. For that, I will add a column. Instead this add column, there is one index column. I'll click on the right triangle from the drop down and I'll go to the custom. I'll say that give the index starting from 1001. That will be basically my player ID, and start with and increment it with the 1. So now here is my index. I can rename this column index by double clicking into this and give the name as player ID. Yeah. So player ID should come at the first. So I'll drag it here, right here to starting. Now, so this is my player dimension table where we have one unique player ID for each player. We have the name, we have the gender, we have the age, and the team of that. Okay, okay, okay. Team of that player also. Right. So this is my player dimension table. The player dimension table is ready. Fine. So in the next video, we will create the one or two more dimension table like game dimensional table and region dimensional table, and then we will create a final star schema model. Right. Till then, thank you.